So, so it's been quite some time since I've actually had to sit down and do some calligraphy. So I'm sitting down and I'm doing some calligraphy. This is a huge tip nib, and I have it set into a Parker Black Giant, which is the only pen that it fit in. But anyway, it doesn't really fit in all that well. So right now, I'm seeing this reversed, so it may not work all that well, but I'm just gonna play around with you. These are two pens that hello Levin Wolf. These are two pens that I showed my dear friend Levin the other day, and he's watching it again right now. Among the pens I bought in the collection, the store, were dozens and dozens and dozens of hard rubber Schaefer self-filling parts. Some of them had never been used before. They had slits for the lever, but they didn't have the holes drilled through for the pin. So they never were put together, ever. And I had a lot of Parker Jackknife pens that had original price stickers on them, never had been put together. And for the most part, I sold a bunch of this stuff. But I had these that might have held a number 6 nib, maybe. And they fit two of my Victorian dip nibs. These are one of the first few that I built. And at the time, I thought if I drilled a breather hole in them, they would function as an actual fountain pen. It turns out that they didn't. The breather hole didn't help. So I have not been adding breather holes to my Franken pens subsequent to my attempts to make them work. So for those of you that there were a couple of pen friends of mine, dealers, who showed me a beautiful dip nib, and they said, I don't want to sell it to you if you're going to drill a hole in it. And I said, well, I've learned my lesson. I'm not drilling holes in them anymore. So for example, this one is undrilled. So one of the things I have to do today is write two names. Well, actually 4 names. I'll do 2 of them right now. Red Socks. I was at a pen meeting the other day, and sitting at the bar minding my own business, and I wrote people's names who were sitting there, and they loved it, and they said, can you write the word Red Sox? So I wrote the word Red Sox. Unfortunately, I only had lined paper with me, and I said, well, when I get home, I'll write it on unlined paper for you. And I haven't done it yet, so I'm doing it now. So let me try it again. This paper has already had stuff written on it, probably, I don't know when, many years ago. And it's been sitting at my desk, and sometimes paper goes bad. It gets fingerprints all over it. It gets moisture in the air gets in the paper, and it dries up and it gets in the paper again. And Levin is telling me something, and I'll read it in a minute. I think this person also wanted me to write the word Natalie. So there's Natalie once. There's Natalie twice. Anyway, let's see what Levin wrote. Yes, it is possible that the metal fatigue that happens with any piece of metal, including a fountain pen nib, the breather hole being round will distribute the, whatever it is, pressure that is exhibited or placed on a nib to flex. A breather hole will probably keep that from happening more easily. So maybe a breather hole serves a different purpose, which I completely forgot about. Thank you for explaining that to me, Mr. Wolf. So the pieces, the other two names I have to write other than Red Sox and Natalie are the names of two people getting married. And because they're a client of mine, maybe I don't want to write their names in front of you, but I do want to be able to make a space where I can write their names when I need to. And so I can explain to you a little bit how I do calligraphy. I'm not the kind of calligrapher. I'll just use some of this paper. This is very lovely paper that changed their recipe on me. It says bleed proof. It was really great, really great. And then I needed more of it. And I got it home and discovered it bled. They changed the recipe somehow. So I went back to the store and I bought every packet of the paper that had a slightly darker purple color, because that was the good paper and this was the shitty paper. So I'm showing you shitty paper. Let's find out if it does bleed when I put ink on it. I tried this the other day and it worked okay. So maybe they changed their recipe back. So testing 1, 2, 3. Two, three. There's a gallon of ink on this piece of paper right now. It's very wet. Okay, I don't know if you can see that it's very wet, but it's very wet. And is it bleeding? Is it feathering? Yep. Shitty paper. Shitty. It used to be good, and now it's shitty. So let's show you how shitty it is. See that? Now it's probably good enough if I were to do some less wet writing or lettering or drawing, it probably will not do that. But look how bad it is. And so in my studio over there, the other room, I have a pile of paper like this that's only written on one side, and or half of the page is used or something. And I've saved that paper because it still works. So let's see if this is an old piece or a new piece. See, this looks like it didn't bleed at all. Let's see if it still doesn't bleed. I just wasted that side of the paper. The Red Sox I could have written on any piece of paper. So let's just let that, so that's the same amount of ink that I dumped over here. I just wrote here. So let's just see if this works. Still wet. I don't see any bleeding, any feathering. See, this is good. Same company puts out the same product, except this product is shitty. So this whole tablet is shitty. I need to go find a piece of paper. There's another piece of paper, or whenever I find a piece of paper that does not bleed, I say, oh my God, I have to save this because I might need it one day when I have to write someone's name. The name I'm writing is for a wedding invitation, and I'll write it out and I'll scan it in, and then I'll apply it to the digital file I'm doing and then print them. I could use the shitty paper, scan it in, and then carefully go around and clean up every single goddamn piece of feathering, and that'll take all day. There was a company I worked for in New York City, and they sold very expensive stationery. And one of their calligraphers wrote out a poem or Christmas message or something, which they then had engraved from the original. But their paper was shitty and it bled, it feathered. So the engraving captured all that feathering. So it looked like crap. And it's sad when you have to tell a very expensive paper company that the paper they produce is shitty. Does anyone have anything to say other than Levin? Not that, Levin, you can say more things if you want to. I'm not telling you to shut up. So far, what you've said makes a lot of sense, and you can ask another question if you want. Let me find this shitty piece of paper. I'll try writing with this pen. You know, it might also be that the sharpness of the dip pen, you know, tears at the paper. Maybe this will work better on this paper because it's, you know, the point isn't as pointy. It's a little smoother. I'll probably use this pen rather than my dip pens anyway, because the name, the three names, Alfonso, Tristan, McGillicuddy, or whatever their names are, takes up a lot of room. So it's going to be pretty reduced. It's going to be, you know, the invitation is 7 inches tall by 5 inches wide. And there's going to be at least a half an inch from the beginning of their name to the end of their name. So, you know, their name is going to be maybe this big. So there'll be a fancy initial, little letters, fancy initial, little letters, fancy initial, little letters. So this line right here that I just made is probably going to be okay using this pen. I'm sorry, Levin. I tell you what, I'll hide this pen. Ignore that I was using it. Let me find a broken. Is this okay to use this one? Plain black, missing a cap. Usually what I do as well is, I'm about to cry, just a minute. Usually what I do is I'll write, like I did here, I'll write a page of capital letters, P's and M's, this particular job, M, S, and P. You know, I wasn't sure which M, S, or P I was going to use, so I made a page full of them. I scanned them in, and then I wrote the little letters of the name. Let's say it's Thomas, H-O-M-A-S. So that might be Thomas. And I might write it 1 or 2 times. I might have a couple of different H's and a couple of different S's. The O-M-A are going to be probably the same all the way through. And then I'll scan them in and I'll add what kind of S I want. Now the S, say his name was Thomas. If his first name was Thomas and he had another middle name, middle initial, you know, the S, I might have the S be kind of a short ending to it. It might end down, it might end up, it might go like that. You know, I don't know how this is going to fit with the other letter, the big letter that's following, because there's usually an overlap of some sort. And so by having different endings and different capital letters to follow an ending is helpful. Now, if the last name ended with an S, I might do something like that, have it fly off really far. There's a file on my computer that has just a bunch of things like this. And I just cut and paste that one and plug it where I want it to go. If I was a better calligrapher, I would do everything just once, do it right the first time. But I also like giving myself some options, because sometimes the client changes their mind and they want a horizontal invitation, not a vertical one. So I've got all sorts of room now that I didn't have before. So anyway, I do wish they still made good paper. Another stack of paper I have that is really, really good was being thrown out in my building, and it was boxes and boxes and boxes of blank checks. They were produced by some company, some bank. The bank account was on it, but I think, anyway, boxes of these things. And there was a pink 8.5 by 11-inch sheet of paper. There was a yellow 8.5 sheet of paper, and then there was a piece of fancy paper that had perforations. No, it had one perforation at the bottom, and this was a check for a check. So the company secretary or bookkeeper would write out the check. They'd have 3 copies, and then the bottom one was the actual check that the company owner would sign, or the treasurer would sign, the accountant would sign. This last piece of paper is really, really good. It's beautiful paper. It doesn't feather. It doesn't bleed. The front side is useless. It has all sorts of texture printed on it, but the back side is completely white. And I use that in the same way that I use this paper. So I'm going to go get some of that right now. Don't go away, people. Levin, you're in charge. My 3/4 roommate has been using this to write the drafts of his letter, but this is all I have left of that paper, I think. So it's a check, and there's nothing here. So evidently the printer, the company, would have that on their template, so they could, when they printed this out with all of the information here, it also would print the check, the routing number, and everything else. So this paper, though, is really good, even if it has perforations in it, the fold and perforations. So let me see if this works with this pen. Give me a name to write. Levin. See if that bleeds. Be back in a second. Let's see, has this bled yet? This is feathering a little bit. So again, all of this paper is useless to me. Because the company decided we're not making enough money selling pads of paper to some people like the likes of Pierre Gustafson. Fuck him. We're going to make shitty paper from now on. Thank you very much, Borden and Riley. No bleeding, no feathering. This is good paper. Wonder who makes this paper. Paper does not have. It has a watermark of a chain, and it says original document. Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Again, I don't know who made this. But it's upsetting that this paper is not functional. I was at a restaurant with my brother and my father after we went to the florist to pick the flowers for my mother's casket. We decided we needed to have lunch. And went to this restaurant and had this crusty waitress who was really fun. Anyway, as always, I doodle on the placemats. And they were paper placemats. They even had a texture to them. They sort of looked like woven cloth, and the edges were scalloped. So the edges looked like this. And there was a border that looked sort of like rope. And then the rest of the placemat had a sort of bumpy texture to it. But my pens could glide over that perfectly. It did not bleed or feather. I said, I love this paper. Can I have some? Can you give me a stack of it? She said, sure thing. She went back, she got a stack that was about 5 inches tall of this paper. And we ended up throwing it out eventually when we sold our house. I found the stack. And I wish I had that paper right this very minute. When you find, hey Cedar, when you find paper that you like, go back and buy more. Cedar, would you like to join me? Cedar is a friend of mine from California who is a very talented sketcher, and he has a very nice, modest, I think I can use that term, collection of pens right now. He ended up deciding to stop collecting, as many people do when they get to a point when they can't stand it anymore. Some people, the point where they can't stand it sometimes is, there's one guy in Boston who collected pens for years and years and years and years and years. He bought them. He was a cheapskate. He bought them really, really cheap at antique shows and flea markets for years and years and years, thinking that they were as valuable as Cliff Lawrence, who was really the only pen, quote, expert in the country, who published a book on how to value pens and stuff. So he was the expert. He would say this pen is worth $10, this one's worth $100. And this was 45 years ago. So the pens weren't hundreds of dollars, but they might be many dozens of dollars. Anyway, when this guy was collecting them, thinking that these pens were worth what Cliff Lawrence said they were worth, Then he went to his first pen show, or talked to some other pen experts, and they said, "Oh, that guy's nuts. His prices are way too high. They're not worth that much." And that depressed the guy that had all these pens, that he ended up selling the whole lot to another collector, which then he learned that the pens were becoming more valuable again, so he started collecting them again. So he was only in it for the money, this guy. He never used them. He had a pen that I coveted. Every time I was at his house, I asked to see it. It was a sterling overlay, fine silver, I think, 412. Could have been a 414. Levin, close your eyes. No, this is what it looked like. Levin already has one of these. It looked like this. And right here, right there, in that little blank spot, were the words "In Memoriam, L.E. Waterman." So, and he guessed, and it was a guess, that the 6 pens were made that had that, and they were given to the pallbearers of L.E. Waterman at the funeral. Now, they could have made 1,000 of them and given them out to all of their pen salesmen or something too. We don't know, but that pen I coveted. That man is no longer alive, and his wife has been selling his collection, and I'm sure that one has been sold. I don't know who owns it now, but it would have been, I mean, I could have afforded it, I guess. If I really wanted to buy it, I could. But it was really fun to see. Anyway, he stopped collecting because he learned that they weren't as expensive as he thought they were. He was only in it for the money. He sold everything. Then he started collecting them again when he realized that the prices were going up. So he was buying and selling them like people buy and sell stocks. It was just a way to make money. There are other people like Cedar, maybe. We'll learn his story if he wants to tell us. And some other people who collect and collect and collect and collect, and something happens. Their life changes. I remember talking to my friend Rob Morrison about pens, and he found a dip pen nib that he was able to somehow put into a fountain pen. And he said, "I found this is the perfect pen. I don't need to buy another pen for as long as I live," because he found the one perfect pen that worked perfectly for him. And I can imagine that happening to someone as well. If I discovered the one pen, the one only pen that could do everything that I want a pen to do, I don't need to have the other 5,000 of them. But as you know, and I know, and everyone else watching this knows, pens can break. And more importantly, I think pens have qualities. You want a pen sometimes that's flexible. Other times you want a pen that's really, really firm. And you can't have both of them in one pen. So you might need more than one pen. Other people that collect pens like Cedar and I, who like pens to use, we may decide we've got enough. We don't need any more. The toolbox has all the hammers we need, has all the screwdrivers we need. We don't need to buy another hammer or a screwdriver. That's fine. I can stop collecting now. I can sell the ones that I don't like as much, keep the ones I like, and use them until the day I die. I suspect that's kind of where cedar is right now. Another collector, let's say you're a collector and you like Eversharp skylines. There's only, well, there's a finite number of every skyline that was ever made, but there's a smaller finite number of every pattern, of every color, of every size that was ever made. So you could conceivably build a collection of just that one model of that one pen. And when you're done, you can say, I'm done. I have every pen. I don't need to buy another pen at all. When that happens, this is a warning for you people out there. When that happens, and you're satisfied with what you have, you might wake up the next day once you completed it, and suddenly you don't have this drive, this desire to complete the collection. That's missing. You have it complete. So there's no added joy, there's no added challenge. You've got everything. And then you look at your collection and you realize a big chunk of what you liked about collecting pens was the collecting them. Once you've collected them, that part is missing. And that's kind of how a lot of people in any hobby become bored with it. And it's understandable. I don't see anything wrong with it. You've put a challenge in front of you. You've done what you needed to do. You can cross it off your list. You can give yourself a big hug. You can put on your business card, I have every skyline that was ever made. And then you can start collecting something else, or feed the fish, feed the birds, or whatever else you want to do with your life now that you've done collecting skyline pens. I don't know if there was anything important I wanted to say at all when I'm doing this. I was just going to show you how I do calligraphy. So here's how I do calligraphy. We'll just go back to that. We'll start with where we were, and maybe Cedar will join us later. So what I do, if I have to write a name, let's say the name is Piers Scott Gustafson. I'll make a bunch of P's, page full of P's, page full of S's, it's not an S, that's an S. So I'll make a bunch of P's, a bunch of S's. The G's I'll have fun with because I can make them like that, or I can make them like this, or I can make them like this. I can make the G's lots of fun different ways. And the P's, less fun. The S's, I suppose I can make them a couple of different ways. So I'll make a bunch of P's, S's, and G's. Then, on another piece of paper, I'll do some ears. I-E-R, 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 couple of ears, and then I'll do some OTTs, O-T-T, O-T-T, oh, sorry, C-O-T-T. My middle name is Scott, not Sot. Do I want the C to start like that, or do I want it to start like that? I don't know. I'll give a couple of different versions, usually with a name that, like Scott, that has a crossing of a T or two T's. I won't do the crossing. I'll just do COTT, and then I'll add a couple of different crosses and I'll scan them in and decide which one I want. With Ustafsson, the last name, I might write it fully a couple of times. I might USTAF. I might do an F like that, where it's goes underneath and flies off, SON, or I might do an F like that, SON. So I'll do a couple of Uftasons. When I get enough that I think I need to do the job, I'll then bring them to the scanner and scan them in and then start assembling them. Again, if I was a really, really good calligrapher, I would take my piece of paper and I'd draw my little pencil lines so I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'll very carefully write S COTT. I rarely write this way. I rarely do the every downstroke is shaded. I tend to only do the long lines as shaded in the calligraphy. OTT. That's how I would normally write that part of my middle name. IER. Maybe I'd do it that way for my first name. Ustafsson, USTAFSO. See, it's really hard to switch gears like I'm doing. But I'm not one of those kind of calligraphers. I'm lazy, sloppy. I also want my calligraphy to look not so much like a calligrapher did it, but that someone with interesting handwriting did it. That's always my goal with my lettering, to make it look like it was natural handwriting by someone who has an interesting personality. And my personality doesn't have to be the boring one that all of you know. I could, by changing how I write, imply a different kind of personality. I can be angular and angry. I can be loopy and frivolous and dot my eyes with a little smiley face. I could be stingy and write with really tiny lettering. Or I could be effervescent and just take up the whole page. That's kind of fun. I like picking different ways to write and make it look like it's natural. Levin, are you still here in the room? Or did you go away? You're barely here. You're barely watching. Am I boring you, or are you falling asleep listening to my droning on and on? I just grabbed these out of a drawer behind me, and I haven't looked at these in a while, so we're going to look at them while we're waiting for Cedar to join us. This pen, why does it look like that on the top? I wonder if there was initials that someone didn't like. This plastic that they made, this Persian, I think this was called Persian. It's cracked right here. This starts to decay. When you see plastic that's becoming translucent, it means it's on its way out. I'm just going to see what these pens write like, just because I haven't tried it in a while. This drawer that I just found these in, this has a few duplicates as well, and also pens that I may not. I mean, at some point, there are times when I will look at a group of pens in my collection and I'll just say, I really don't like these. And one of the pens that I had maybe 8 or 10 of the wood-grained Conklin Endura pens, senior to the ladies' pen, all wood grain. But there's something about the Conklin wood grain that I didn't like. And I decided to sell all of them to a guy named Conklin. Actually, he bought them all and he was very happy with them. I kept the blue ones, I kept the green ones, I kept the black ones, I kept the red ones, hard rubber ones, but I did not like the wood grain ones, whatever they called that wood grain. Okay, Cedar wants to join us. So let me add him. Copy. Edit. Paste. So see if that works. And remember, you're joining me via Safari, so you have to turn off your YouTube. Otherwise, we'll have an echo. I talked with Cedar was it yesterday or the day before? And we were talking a little bit about deciding when you're done collecting. So maybe he'd be willing to share that information with us as well. Or he might want to talk about something entirely different. Oh, this is missing a nib. This is weird. This pen is weird because it has nickel trim when it should have gold trim. I knew this would be blue ink in there. Uh-oh. There you go, Cedar. Add to stage.
Hey Pierre, how's it going?
It's going fine. Okay, there we are. You're just as handsome as you were yesterday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I can't rig it up to show paper like you. I don't have it set up like that. I just have my laptop.
Well, I mentioned how to do that. I'll explain to the viewers what I told you and what can work for them. Is I'm going to draw Cedar at his desk, or is it his table? So here he is.
I can do this.
Here's his chair. Here's his arms. Here's his nose. Here's his mouth. Here's his ears. Here's his hair. And here's his little cat, Lily.
She's behind the couch. You have to draw her behind the couch.
Well, I'm drawing her behind your chair. She's right here. So here's the cat. There's the tail coming up. The cat's playing hard to get, looking that way, and Cedar's here. So this is how you, Cedar, or how anyone can create and you're right-handed, so here's a pen in your right hand. Okay, so how do you make this thing work where you're looking straight down at the table? Well, this is what I suggested to Cedar. You take a bunch of books, maybe 14 inches of books. You set them on the table. Then you get a ruler, or a wire hanger will do, a wire hanger. You'll set it on the top book, and then you add another 5 books or so. So if you had an encyclopedia set, you'd use A through L here, then you'd put your hanger in and you'd go M through maybe Z or R or whatever you want. You can use cinder blocks, you can use whatever you want. But books, most people that collect pens have books to use. Then on the wire hanger or ruler, you set your phone or your iPad, aiming down at your drawing. But it's below your eyeball, so you can see what if you're in focus, you can see what other people are typing, you can see lots of stuff. So this is a very easy way to do to make a stand for your phone. You can also do what I did, which is not as good, but it works okay. You'd also have the light source hitting you from this direction because you want the shadow of your hand to go that way, not right here. I've got a light in front of me and up, so it's okay. It's not really blocking anything. So that's how I do it, and this system works well with people I've tried.
Yeah, I don't even have any pens out or paper out. I only have one pen out.
What pen is that?
I like these Schaefer pens that, like most people, don't like the Lifetime pens.
Yeah. Is that really nice stubby one?
No, this one is just kind of like a fine, just like a regular fine. I have that really super needlepoint fine one that I like a lot. And then I generally like fine or very fine.
Well, when we were in California together and we were at the fishing port, you were using a sort of fat, senior fatness, but it was a short pen. Remember? It was a Schaefer.
That one has a needlepoint. That one was a really, really sharp needlepoint. I love that one.
You still have that one?
Oh yeah, I still have that one.
Yeah. So when you you had how many pens before you started selling them? How many were in your collection?
I have over 200, I want to say.
Okay. And then you decided you were done collecting for whatever reason, and you decided to sell the duplicates or the ones that weren't as interesting to you, correct?
Yeah, basically sort of my collecting was more about exploration,
Uh-huh.
And I explored to a certain point, and I was like, yeah, there's not really much more for me to explore. And I got a good idea of the pens that are out there, the different brands, the different nibs. And I'm not really a collector, and I'm more of a user. And so I'm just going to get rid of the majority of it and just keep the ones I like to use.
Mm-hmm.
Or some of them I just kept because I think they're cool. They're not really users. I just think they're neat. But for the most part, I just kept pens I feel like I would want to use.
So if you were to go to the big LA pen show next year, which you probably would do because you know the people there, you like chatting with them, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go last year, this year. I didn't go this January.
Okay.
But maybe next year we'll go. I don't really want to buy anything, but it is fun to say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
suspect, though, that, I mean, between now and then, you might rediscover, let's say, whatever pen you haven't used in a while, and you might pick it up, put ink in it, and write with it, and say, "Oh my God, I really, really like this pen in a way that I didn't know I liked it before." And maybe you'll say, "I really want another one with maybe a different kind of a nib." Or do you not? Do you think that that is unlikely to happen?
I think it's fairly unlikely. I do kind of know what I like at this point,
Hmm.
um, but I don't see that there would be some other pen out there that would tempt me to want to obtain it because I kind of have a little bit of everything I want, and
Hmm.
I am not really after like flexible nibs and trying to find like the most flexible nib and wanting to pay so much for flexible nibs. And you know I I actually prefer it when a pen is not so expensive and I could just play with it. you
Yeah.
know
Well, I
the
like
people
those
are a
too.
little too crazy about the flexible nibs at this point.
I'm well, yeah. Everyone loves those because they're so seductive, and they're just so much fun to play with.
They are
Except
very
they can
seductive.
be so distracting. I'm too
Well,
busy
that's part
making
of
swirls and stuff to actually come up with the word I need to write.
exactly, and that's why I actually prefer stiff pens, is because it removes all variables. I'm not focused on what the pen's doing. I'm focused on whatever I'm writing or drawing. I'm not
Yeah.
focused on I want this to be thicker here or thinner, or like the control of the pen. All that. I mean, there is still control aspects and nuance to a stiff pen you have to work with. It just doesn't have as many variables or as many like, you know, touch, you know, sensitivities and stuff. So I think it's really neat, a pen like somebody who's skillful with calligraphy. I really admire it, but I've realized that I'm not going to be skillful with calligraphy. If I even just improve my handwriting in a pedestrian way, I'm grateful because I didn't start with good handwriting technique as a child. I didn't start to even hold the pen or pencil correctly until I was 38. I mean, 10 years on, my handwriting has improved and my skill of holding the pen or pencil is good. Um, but it's sort of like, it's sort of like music, like I'm learning how to read music a little bit now. I play the
Uh-huh.
guitar in a naive way, or the ukulele is my favorite thing to play since I was like 12 or 13, but I never understood music.
Hmm.
And there's a real big difference between understanding music and just playing. And so,
Yeah.
but I'm not starting early enough for it to really matter and exactly, but I'm hoping I could get somewhere with it. I'm using the recorder to learn how to read music because it's much more simple. There's just one, it's a treble clef. The notes are all in one line. There's no chords, you know, so it's a
It's just a
simple way to
note. You
learn
can
how to
only
read
play one
music.
note at a time with a
Yeah,
recorder.
yeah, that's often why it's used to teach kids and stuff because it's a simple way in, and the mouth technique is not so complicated with the recorder like it is a flute where you gotta,
Hmm.
you know, and like, yeah, but you can
Um,
translate too, like the recorder stuff to the ukulele. I have much more experience with understanding the music theory on a ukulele or a guitar because I played them for so long, even though I never really learned properly. It's just what I've kind of gathered over time.
mhm.
But I could translate it because it's very simply written. And so that's a fun thing to do. Anyway, I'm learning more about music theory, but it's
Oh,
not like
fun.
calligraphy. Do I expect to be able to do beautiful Spencerian? No, I really don't.
Well, I'm going back to your drawing. The first drawings I saw of yours, I think, via Instagram, were these really playful, I call them accordion people. They look like they're made of an accordion. Do you have any samples you could show real quick?
Not really, but I did doodle last night at work, and it's not exactly accordion people, but I can show that. I
But what Cedar has drawn, he would fill up a page in a sketchbook of funny looking people. Usually their heads were human enough, but their torsos and their legs and their arms were kind of crazy. And but the line work that you use to create those almost always seemed to be somewhat varied, like you were using a flexible nib.
well, this is pencil.
Okay. Okay. Yep. I can see that. You don't have any of your accordion pen people handy.
Probably not because I just moved, and
I
I'm
see.
not exactly sure where I can find it, but maybe I have my nature journal. I've been into the nature journaling thing more. I did like this bee.
Yeah, you sent me that picture. That's beautiful, as is that one.
Birds and stuff.
Yeah, and trees. Cedar and I had such a good time walking on the beach, and there's Lily the cat,
Little Lily.
and she held still for you for all that amount of time.
Well, yes, because she was like laying on my lap or something.
I see.
I had great heron.
Great. Yeah.
Egret.
Anyway, Cedar and I did go out to draw together, and it was really fun. We drew driftwood and whatever kind of trees are there on the beach in Ventura. I think that was Ventura, right?
That was actually Carpinteria.
Okay. Then we went to draw the fishing boats in Ventura, I think. And then we took a trip into what I call mountains, what I'm sure you call as little hills, where we overlooked that lake, and
that was cool.
The clouds were just scuttering across the sky, and they were covering the hills and the lake water and the surface of the lake, and just this, it would be very hard to paint because it kept moving so much. Stop it, damn you. So, but it was so much fun to draw with you that day, or those days.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
So the group that you
go ahead.
The group you draw with is a local meetup group that you found online?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's a group I had been trying to go visit for quite a while, and then I finally went last year around this time, and it was like really fun and got me back into drawing. I was kind of in a fallow period where I was taking a break. But yeah. So it got me excited about it again and started going out with them.
Good.
Yeah, I feel like drawing is also something, I did it in a naive way for most of my life. And then I started to learn more real techniques about it like later in life. I did that with everything, I suppose. But doing art in a naive way, there's nothing wrong with it, You still can make interesting things. And
yeah. Well, I enjoyed very much your accordion people. They're very playful and fun. And I don't remember any, even though it looks like almost a page from a comic strip, I don't remember there being any story that you were telling. There was no plot, I don't remember there being one.
Yeah, no, there's never any plot. Like, I don't have any story. There's more just doodling, stream of conscious doodle.
Cedar and I went out on a date. Can I talk about that? It wasn't a date like you're thinking, but it was
Valentine's Day.
It was Valentine's Day, and we went to a bar, and we sat on a corner of the bar, and I was facing one direction, he was facing the other direction. I think you ordered a beer, and I had maybe 3. And we decided we would draw each other. We would draw. I drew myself giving you flowers, I think. I represented myself giving you flowers, and then you took the paper and you filled in your half. I drew a self-portrait of myself giving you flowers, and you gave your portrait.
I think mine was a box of candy.
Yours was a box of candy, and it was so damn cute. And I found it recently, and I sent it to you. I emailed it to you or something. So I know it's here. I think I have it. And I said, look what I found. So anyway, that was our date. That was the extent of it.
Yeah, so then we went to the pen show the next day.
What was that?
Then we went to the LA Pen Show the next day.
Then we went to the LA Pen Show the next day. I think I stayed at your house, though, 2 nighs.
Oh, yeah, maybe so.
Was it 3?
We arrived, and then one day, that was the day we went out drawing, and then, and then the next day after that is when we went to the pen show. That's right.
I mean, I was there 2 nights, and then when we got to the pen show, I stayed at the pen show.
Right.
We both
stayed there with Reese.
We both stayed with Reese, and then I stayed after that. I stayed with Otto, and then eventually with Trister. But I stayed at least 2 nights with you.
Yeah, that was a fun time, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, going out and drawing was really, really fun. For me, it was so much fun because all the trees were, I still don't know how to draw a palm tree. They're just wacky to me. I don't understand how they work. And all of the mountains, and I guess, drawing the ocean is not that difficult, but the driftwood is. And anyway, it was a lot of fun. If I come out to your neck of the woods again, I'd love to hang out and draw a lot.
Yeah, sure. That'd be cool.
Do you have a guest room at your new house?
Yeah, I have a couch bed.
Okay, good. Well, the one that I was in at the other place.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is exactly the same one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's in my living room now instead of a separate room.
For those of you that are thinking, we didn't spend the night together in the sense that most people think of people spending the night together. We were gentlemen. Now the night we were with Reese, that's a different story. I'm joking, of course. So who else is in the room? No one else. It's just you, it looks like. Levin, are you still here?
Yeah, he bought one of my pens, I guess. He bought that jackknife safety.
Yes. I don't know if he's still in the room here.
It looks like he left.
Levin is interested in building a collection as well. I don't know how many he has, but the ones he does have are quite lovely. And I don't see a focus to it yet. He likes hard rubber. I think it's hard rubber or overlays he likes. He hasn't mentioned that he wants plastic pens.
I like hard rubber too. It's probably my favorite material.
Yeah, they're so warm.
They're nice to hold.
And they're rich, and when they fade, they're such a beautiful color. And they
don't crumple like the very, very fancy plastics do.
The what?
They don't crumble like the really pretty translucent plastics do.
Yes.
Some of them, not all of them.
Yeah. Like this one is doing right in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah. They crumble.
This will be one day I'll open the drawer and it'll just be a gold
Dust.
nib, a gold lever, a gold ring, a gold clip, and
Yeah.
a bunch of yellow dust in a heap.
Yeah. The hard rubber does crack. That's the downside to it. But
It can. The hard
you're
rubber
careful
can
with it.
crack. It's harder to crack than plastic, I think. Well, some plastics are very sturdy, but um, there's seems to be a little bit more give or strength maybe to hard rubber than to some plastics.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's interesting. The materials they used back then. I
there
love
were
them.
some.
But they
Yeah,
aren't like the materials today that will last 10,000 years in any landfill. Like those will actually
yes,
degrade, and
yes, which is too bad. I mean, who knows? A modern fountain pen that's made of all sorts of swirly, brightly colored plastic. Who knows how long it's going to last? I mean, they thought 100-year pens would last 100 years, and they started falling apart. Those clear ends, which was a stupid design idea to begin with. I don't understand where they came up with that.
Yeah. I love the original ones that are made out of lucite. Lucite does last for a really long time,
Yeah.
possibly forever. I don't know, but I don't know about forever. But it's like an early forever plastic, lucite, or I don't want to call it a forever plastic, but just one of the more modern plastics that don't degrade, which
Well,
is weird.
you do see some Schaefer pens of this era
Uh-huh.
that are decaying and crumbling for
True.
whatever reason it is that they start getting translucent and then they crumble. Um, and again, they were using plastic. It was all brand new. They couldn't test them for 100 years before they sold them. So who knows how long they were going to last.
Yeah, they didn't know they were going to discolor the way that they did with the hard rubber parts, off gassing and discoloring them. I
Yeah.
had no idea. But then I'm sure after people had them for 10 or 20 years and they started discolored, and they're like, oh, this plastic discolors. What do you know?
Well, and again, it's if it bothered them, they buy a new pen. I mean, it's not like you were forced to carry around something that you thought was ugly, but
Well, now we are,
now
because
we are.
those ugly pens that's it, like nobody's going to make one of those again. And so you got to love them for their ugliness. And, like the black ones never discolor or crumble, the black plastics. So if you want one that will really, really last, and you don't have to worry about any of that, just get a black one. Something about the carbon in the black or something like that prevents the
Yeah, it
the
might be.
decay, and they don't discolor because they're black. So I mean,
I
the plastic ones.
I love all black pens or black pens with gold or silver colored trim.
I do too.
I it's I think you're more aware of the shape. When you look at a Parker or I'm sorry, a Schaefer Streamline that's pearl and black, or even one that's striped, you're not seeing the shape as easily as you do when it's all black. So there's that. Um, anyway,
Yeah, that
but
one green one that you brought out looked like it was in really good condition. Didn't look discolored at
this
all.
one,
Yeah, that one's not discolored at all.
no. But what's wrong with it? It has no
There's something
threads.
wrong with it.
All the threads are broken off of it.
Oh.
So I just have
You just can't win, right? It's
I
like
just
one
have
thing or the other.
the section shoved into it, and I was going to use it as a Frankenpen
Oh
pen,
yeah,
and this would just be a slip cap like this. So
yeah.
there's enough leeway to
Well, it has
to
great
protect,
color.
but it's great color. But it's
That's like
broken.
a collector would love
So,
that color,
so
but not the Father Flaw.
but no threads. Look, Ma, no
No thread.
threads.
Yeah, that's
I
the thing that really.
suppose, I wonder whether threads could be added down here
Yeah, maybe.
on a lathe or something.
Yeah, it's interesting how when you start to collect pens, you start to find all the flaws, and you start to realize like how many of them are broken or have a problem. You know, when you buy off, let's just say randomly at a swap meet or at eBay or an antique mall. You know, like
I
some of
was
them are
talking
good, a certain percentage are good, and a lot of them have a problem.
I was talking to MG Ward, Michael,
Okay,
Mr. MG Ward. You know him, right?
I think he's a YouTube pen guy, right?
Yeah, he.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He doesn't go to Chicago, to California. He goes to the Philly show. He might go to the California one too, but
I know Fig
anyway,
Boot on pens.
he started collecting pens and loved the hard rubber ones and loved the brown color that they were. And then he realized that the brown color wasn't the original color, that was the faded color, but he ended up loving that more than the black. I think he just immediately was attracted to the warmth of the brown pen, and when he saw that they were black, his heart sank a little bit. But um, anyway, when if and when he shows up as one of my guests, I'll ask him to explain it better than I'm doing.
Yeah, perfectly faded hard rubber pen where the brown is like completely even is very beautiful. It's just like just a
So
nice
someone
warm
just
pretty
joined the
brown.
room here. Bromista 5 asked what the green pen was. Uh, he or she thought it was an Eversharp Gold Seal. It's a Schaefer
The Shaper Lifetime, right?
lifetime pen with no threads. The threading broke off. So, but it's a pretty color.
If you were just collecting, that might be okay, you know, just to have an example of one that just is like in really good has really good color and maybe isn't
Well, I mean, most pen
complete, but
collectors have pens like this in perfect shape that
that's true.
are in a case, in a glass case, in their living room or in their study or on their desk, and no one would know what the nib is like because they never take it out to try it. So
Yeah,
it's a
I'm
perfectly
definitely
lovely
not a
pen.
collector. I'm an explorer, so I collect to explore a certain thing,
Yeah,
but I'm not really that interested in just collecting per se.
yeah.
Although some things I have collected and kept, like I collected a lot of the vintage pencils. Those were fun to collect because they're cheap, you know, and they didn't ruin. You know, there's a lot of variety. There's all kinds of different
Yeah,
interesting.
those early pencils and the magic pencils and the pen pencil combos of the Victorian area, they were all over the map. And
Yeah, all over the
um,
place.
a lot of them are really, really fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
the Eagle Pencil Company made all kinds of really interesting pencils and different variations, and they started a really long time into the Victorian era, and they went all the way into the 30s, I guess, or maybe the 40s. That's a really brand to
who's
collect.
Bromista? What is your first name, Bromista? Bromista asked if I have any big boys like a Waterman 58. I have two Waterman 58s. Brian. Okay, Brian.
See, a lot of pen collecting just turns into like a matter of prestige, you know. Do you have this, you know, pen that's worth a lot of money or, you know, very rare or something like that? And then you
Here's
could
a
be like,
Black
"Ooh,
Giant.
oh, those are cool. I like black giants."
It's missing its nib. Uh, the 58s are a little smaller than this. I have a 48, which is a safety pen, which is big, and I have two 58s. I can show them to you if you want to see them. Be right back. How's the real world? Fabulous, teeming with life. Is that beautiful?
I don't have much to impress anyone with, and I don't have my pens handy. They're in a box. Could maybe try and get it out, but I just joined this this live stream spontaneously, so I didn't prepare. But I didn't prepare. My pens are in a box still from moving.
So here's a 48, which is a safety pen with a number 8 nib.
It's very black.
It's very black. I've never used it. Big. Here is a 58 with a lovely, if I remember correctly, I love the nib on it. It's fine and flexible.
So how long have you had that pen? Is that one you picked up when you were younger?
Every pen I picked up when I was younger.
Oh, all these big pens you picked up when you were younger?
No, well, a second ago I was younger than I am now. So they were.
I'm just curious about
I
the
picked
pens
these-
that you
I
got
picked
like way
these
back
up-
in the day, you know,
I
when you
picked
were
these up
younger.
back in the day. These are probably, I bought these maybe 40 years ago.
Wow. Ha, ha, ha. I think that's kind of cool that you have pens in your collection that you've had that long, you know?
This one was missing or had a big chip out of the cap or something, and my friend Peter Markman made a gold band for it,
That's nice.
and the clip is marked 14K, and he added this big gold band on it for me. And then this is an 18, I think. Yep. So this is the eyedrop fill version. And they did make a size bigger than the 58, and that's a 20. And they made also a 19. And I owned one, and it was the only one known to exist on the planet. And I sold it to Otto.
Oh yeah, I remember that pen.
The
Yeah,
20 is.
I love it if you would dig up like the pen that is the pen you've had the longest in your collection, whatever pen that might very well be, if you can even figure that out.
I know I did have pens before I heard about the Good Service Pen Company, and it might have been a Schaefer Lifetime I bought at a flea market. I didn't know how to fill it because the sack was broken, the lever was broken. I remember taping the lever thing with masking tape or electrical tape and filling it with with India ink. It didn't work very well.
Yeah.
And but the three pens I bought from the company that I now own, there was a Symphony pen with a flexible nib. Symphony pen was in burgundy with a chrome cap. I don't know if I have any of those parts left once the nib broke, which was really depressing. Once the nib broke, I think I ignored the pen. I mean, the parts might still exist here, but it was just so depressing I didn't want to even look at it. And then I bought that first trip to that company. I bought a pearl and black flat top. Well, it had sort of rounded edges, but it was a mismatch. One was, it's all screwed together, but one was, the barrel was a Conklin, barrel feed and nib were a Conklin, and the cap was maybe a gold medal or gold bond. They fit together and they looked okay, but they were a mismatch. And then the last pen I bought was a brand new pen at the time. It was the Parker 180, and I do have that one still. I'll show you what that looks like.
Oh, cool.
Fanny, the woman that owned the store,
Oh, yeah. That's an
her,
attractive pen. I like that pen.
let me show you what she looks like here. If I can find it here. Fanny Friedman, who ran the pen shop where I bought my first pens. Um, uh,
See, my oldest vintage, I mean, the vintage pen I've had the longest, I've only had since 2019 because that's when I started collecting vintage. I only really collected intensively for about 5 years.
so here's the store. The Good Service Pen Shop was on the first floor
Wow,
of this
neat.
building in Minneapolis.
Oh,
And
what a
that's
cool
where I
building.
went to buy my first pens. And Fanny Friedman,
What an
this is what she
awesome
looked
building.
like.
Oh, wow.
And she sold me my first pens.
That's so
And
cool.
she died in 1980. It says Fanny Friedman, 1896 question mark to 1980, quit school after the 8th grade and started working at a pen shop. When the shop went
Wow.
bankrupt in 1921, Friedman took over the business, selling and repairing fountain pens.
Oh, my God.
Um,
So cool.
she was hardworking, industrious, and fond of fountain pens. Friedman told a Minneapolis Tribune reporter, "With a gold-tipped fountain pen, you have style. You're in." Friedman was spunky too. During a robbery, she threw an ink bottle at the holdup man and was shot.
Oh,
Friedman
my
was in
God.
critical condition for weeks. Cedric Adams, noted Twin Cities radio broadcaster on WCCO, gave daily updates on her condition. Um, so anyway, she sold me this pen along with those other two, and then over the coming few months, uh, whenever I was in Minneapolis, I had gone to Madison, Wisconsin, for grad school. So every time I'd go back, I would stop in that store and buy some more pens. So maybe from her, I did buy a big uh, jackknife from her. It's bigger than a dual fold senior
Huh.
by just a little tiny bit, and I still have that pen somewhere here. Um, I'll bring it out and show it to you at some point. I can't remember what kind of nib it had. It didn't have the original nib. It had a Parker, uh, maybe Vacuumatic nib in it, but it was big.
Wow.
Anyway, she sold me this pen. She said, "This is the coming thing, the Parker 180." And it had this
Oh, one of those weird
sort of
nibs like that. Those are
weird
kind of
nib,
interesting, though.
and you were supposed to be able to write with it one way and then flip it over and write with it another way, which you can do with every pen. But this one was touted that you can do that in their
Huh.
advertising, and it always skipped, of course,
Ah,
and it just never worked well at all. But it's kind of a cool looking pen. I
it
sometimes see
is.
them on eBay, and
Yeah, they are cool.
I think, well, maybe just this one pen didn't write. Maybe the other ones write okay.
Yeah, it might have
Um,
been a flawed design somehow, maybe.
I don't think it caught on, and um, And with most modern fountain pens, um, the flow wasn't very good. So I never really used it.
Well, that's funny. It's good that you kept it, though. It's an interesting story.
I did get at almost the same time I got this, my dad gave me this beautiful Aurora pen, which also never really worked. But it came in this beautiful cylindrical brushed chrome case, or brushed aluminum case. You open it up. It was about the size of I don't have the case anymore, but it was about the size of I don't know what size would it be? It was sort of this big around, and it opened up in half, so sliced down the length of the thing, and on one side was the pen, on the other side was what held the pen, and then there was, then there was directions in there somehow. But it was a really cool looking pen, but it also never worked. It always skipped.
You know what my first fountain pen was? Take a guess what my first fountain pen was.
What was that?
Take a guess what my first fountain pen was. It was 2013. It was not a vintage fountain pen.
Oh dear, 2013. See, I don't know my modern pens. Parker 45?
No, it was a Noodler's Ahab. That was my first fountain pen. Okay, I still have it around here somewhere, but
right,
I have so much better pens now. I never use it.
The source.
Yeah, and then from there I got like a Pilot fountain pen. I just had modern fountain pens all the way until 2019, and I didn't really collect them. I had like maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 at the most modern fountain pens, and I used those for drawing for a long time. So maybe that's also why I like stiff nibs in some ways, because I always use something stiff to draw with.
Yeah.
Although the flexible pen to draw with, is great if you got the skill to really make it look beautiful and interesting. But maybe to me, what I've discovered, and I think you talk about this too, is like a semi-flex pen is better for drawing than a really, really like super flexible pen.
I like them better for drawing. I'm scared of flexible. Yes, I do have a pink nib. I might have 2 or 3 that are pink, and they're all a little bit different from each other. So
well, I agree with you that the really flexible nibs are better for writing calligraphy, and the semi-flex are better for drawing. I'm in agreement with that. From my own experience of playing with them.
Yeah, the pens I use for calligraphy are usually my dip pen Franken pens, but a Parker, a Waterman pink nib, oh my God, it's better than sex. But unfortunately, you're afraid of using them. I'm afraid of pressing down too hard or hitting a snag in the paper. I'm scared of them.
Like with those kind of pens, all I want to do is just play with them and just doodle and make scribbles. I don't actually want to end up drawing anything. I just play with them. So it's like, I don't know. I'd rather have something that I don't think about.
Well, that's what I hope really in every fountain pen I'm using, where the pen disappears. I don't notice it. I'm just drawing with it. And I love that about a good drawing pen.
I do too.
I might be willing to sell them at some point. I don't know when that point will be, because they are, every once in a while, I'll try one and I'll say, oh my God, this is just so much fun. And I drive it. I take it out on the smooth piece of paper and I just play with it, and I run around with it, and I might write a word, or I might write a bunch of fancy capital letters, but I know they're so goddamn valuable. and so rare that I'm afraid to use them because I can and I have broken nibs, and I don't want to be the person to break one of those.
Yeah, the money aspect to it really kind of kills the fun. You
Yeah.
know, because if these things weren't, you know, valuable and you could just play with them more freely, you know, that would be more fun. But then,
My yeah.
I don't know,
My
you
friend
know,
Rob
I'm not,
Morrison says when he gets a perfectly, he loves 51s, as do I. When he
oh, I
gets
do
an
too. I like those.
absolutely perfect sterling capped 51 or something, he he looks at it and he's afraid to use it. But when he gets one that's pre-dinged, look at it, it's pre-dinged, so he doesn't have to worry about dropping it. He's and adding that first ding. He's happy with the one that's pre-dinged.
Yeah, almost all my
Play with
pens are user
Ken.
grade
He
like
wants
that. I have
me
almost no pens
to
that are.
what? So while I'm getting my pink to play with, why does this sound dirty? I'm going to play with my pink nib. While I'm getting that, I want you, Brian, to tell us where you're from, what you, how old you are, what you do for a living, what is your favorite pen. You start writing that, typing that out right now, and I'll be right back with my pinks.
Here, you know, I have to get off the call now and
Okay.
start doing some stuff here. But it was good seeing you, and thanks for having me on.
Well, let's do this again and
Yeah,
try your setup with the books and facing down and see if you can find your drawings of your accordion people, because it seems to me, if I'm remembering correctly, there's a lot of flexible line work going on
yeah, I
in
might.
yours.
Yeah, I will. I will look for some of that.
Yeah. And also, I will look for the book I bought from you of your other work you do that is so unlike your accordion men that
Right. Yeah.
they look like they belong in a book about um, chemistry and about how molecules look under the microscope. They're
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I liked that series. Yeah, it was a very different mindset to making those than, like, you know, I had a lot more patience back then. My patience is gone now.
Okay, do you see what Brian wrote? Can you see his quote?
I see studio chat two people, but let's see, do I have to go here? Oh, look,
He
he
lives in
lives
Los
in Hawaii.
Angeles.
Oh, neat. Oh, cool.
He's right
Wow.
down the street from you. Well,
Yeah,
down
he's
the
similar
highway.
age range as well. He's similarly aged. I'm older, but
Brian, are you cute?
that's neat.
Go right into the gutter, Pierre Gustafson. I'll be right back with my pink nib.
Okay. Bye, Pierre.
Oh, nice. Pink nib, pink nib, pink nib. So I found two pink nibs, I think. Number 7 pink nibs. But in looking for my pink nibs, I also found this. And this is one of the rarest Watermans made. And you're just saying, why? It's just a 55. Well, you'd be nearly right. It's a 52X. And what is a 52X, you wonder? Well, it's a 55 with a number 2 nib. Look at how tiny that nib looks. It's supposed to be big. Like, where's Go Rose 55? It's supposed to be that big. So Waterman made for people that had maybe arthritis, people needed a bigger, fatter pen. They made a pen for them with a number 2 nib. So it's called a 52X. And I've owned this for a long while. And my friend John Vale, who was a pen collector friend of mine, he and I were having lunch, and we were talking about this pen. I don't think I had it on me at the time, but we were talking about it. And he said, I know someone with a 52X in Cardinal in red. And I said, who do you know that has one of those? And he said, you do. And I said, what? I do? And he said, yep. He remembered I had this one, which I had completely forgotten about. This is a 52X in Cardinal, which is even rarer than this pen. 52. Where's the, there we go, 52X. Or does it say X52? 52X. Okay, pink nibs. This is one of them. The other one I have has a pink band, and I'll try to find that in a second, because this isn't it. When I bought it, it was one of the early ones that didn't have the white lines around the color. It was just the pink. So that's one. And I'll look for the other one in a second. Here's another one. Does this say pink? Maybe this doesn't say pink. No, this says brown. Brown is the poor man's pink. It's just as fine, I think, as a pink, but it's not as flexible. It's just a little tiny bit less flexible than a pink. But this pen, I bought this pen right down the street from me, and I couldn't believe it. And he said, the antique dealer said, I said, how much do you want? Oh, he says, I have pens for you. They're in that drawer over there. So I opened up the drawer, and this thing was looking at me. And he said, I said, how much is it? And he said, they're $12 each. I said, no, I'm going to pay you $150 for this one. And he said, no, I told you $12. So I I paid him more. And I realized even at $120 at the time, I mean, it was missing a lever, but otherwise it was perfect. And it had this amazing nib in it. This is almost like a pink, but it doesn't say pink. It's almost like a pink. And anyway, let me see if I can find the other pink. Yes, I found it in the wild. I'll be right back. Maybe it's behind me here. No. 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 That's not it. I think this is a 4 size. No, 55. I thought all my 55s were in the other drawer. Hold on. Well, now I wonder if I've lost yet another pen. It's a Waterman music nib. So the number 5 ripples, they had a sort of flared out cap. I have one of those. But I do have, I thought, somewhere in my house, one of these, and the color pink is very hard to see, and it's supposed to have a pink nib. Now, where is that pen? Where, if you were that pen, where would you be? It's, I don't see it here. I get really, really, really depressed when I can't find things that I thought I still owned, thought I still knew where they were, and where is it? It seems to me when I was showing my friend Ted this pen, this nib, and there's a video of it, if I can find it, you'll see him playing with this pen, and he's also playing with my pink nib. One of my pink nibs is right here, but the first pink nib I bought was like this, except it didn't have the gold, it didn't have the little white things. And it seems to me we were playing with those three pens. So somewhere in my house is that pen. I don't think Ted stole it. I don't think I would have let him even borrow it. Though I may have. I don't think I did. So somewhere, I'm going to look again in 1 second, back in the drawers where it might be. Because right now I only have one that's marked pink, and I know I have more than one. Would you like to join me, Brian, and talk live with your actual mouth? I'll be right back. Well, I found it. So this is for Brian and for anyone else watching me right now. I am an old man, going to be 70 shortly. In a month and a half, I'm turning 70. And so the hours left to me on this planet are slowly going by. Here's an hourglass. Here's what's left. Here's what I've used up so far. Every minute, some of this stuff is going away. So there's not a lot of time. And I don't want to have these pens end up with my poor brothers to have to deal with. So I am going to start selling some of these things, but before I sell them, I have to first decide what are duplicates and what are not duplicates. So this is the first pink I ever bought, was this pen right here. And I guess that color stripe is supposed to be pink. I don't know. But it's a very lovely, typical pink nib. Fine and somewhat flexible, or very flexible. Does this say pink? It better say pink. Pink. It's very different from this one that also says pink. Does this say pink? I think this says pink. Pink. And I think somewhere I have one in this kind of a pen that also says pink. This one says brown, but I think I have one in a pen like this that says pink. Can I do some figure eights with them? Yes, I can do some figure eights. I didn't mean to sound exasperated, but it frustrated me that it took me so long to find this pen, because I looked in the drawer that this was in at least 3 times until I finally looked a 4th time and found it. There it is. That's what it does. Does it do anything differently than a normal Waterman number 2? Maybe not. Here's another pink. The fine seems finer on this one. There that one is. Then there's this other one that's crazy nib on this one. This is more flexible than these two, and this isn't marked pink at all. Where's the brown one? Is this the brown one, or is... Now I'm already getting confused. This is pink. This was pink. This is unmarked. This is brown. No, this is brown. Brown. So I call brown the poor man's pink. It's just a little less flexible than that. This is very stiff, that one. This is a 56. This is just a, is this a 6 or a 5? 5. But here's the dip nib, Victorian dip nib, Frankenpen. Way more pink than pink. Here's another one, Victorian dip nib. I'm getting really, really hungry. Another dip nib. Come on, beer. You really do need to test with actual ink. Dirty water doesn't do it. So anyway, I do have a lot of pens, and a lot of them are really amazing. Here's another dip nib. I'm really hungry. Oh, what just happened? It fell onto the ground. I hope it didn't break. Shit. Did it hit the cap and break the nib? No. Okay, my thing says low battery. I gotta go. Well, watch my videos about Frankenpens. You'll see the flaws that they have. And it's just pure P-I-E-R, no S. So Brian, we'll talk later. Maybe we can talk on FaceTime sometime later today if you want to. Bye.